All right, this is just a quick response to Iron Soul on Twitter. Any good resources to get familiar with htop? Um, Not that I know of, but I can show you, I think, a pretty quick way to get familiar with it. So let's look at this. So if you go into htop, what most people kind of know about htop is it shows, your processors and your current memory use, swap usage, how long your system's been up, those good things. You might know that there's a tree view, which takes just kind of everything running and shows its actual like hierarchy on the process chain or whatever you want to call it. You can also kind of click around. I want to sort by CPU. I want to sort by memory. But probably the best place to start is F1. Once you do that, you get a look at all of the key bindings. It actually shows you a little bit about the way that the bars are set up and the color coding. Those are actually things you can change. So if you man htop, it will show you the ways to design like a custom configuration for this. Let's take a look. Let's actually play with some of these. So P toggle program path. So let's actually go back to this view. So if you're just scanning this, maybe you want to turn program path off. It'll show you kind of a easier to look at view of the processes running on your system. If you hit P again, it actually shows you that full path. So disk unmount watcher here is just disk unmount watcher. Obviously, seeing the path could be helpful if you're researching something. Another one is U for user. So currently we're showing all users. These are all Mac related, I guess, but we can go down to just processes that I guess my user has spawned. So once again, we can get rid of that path. Here's all the things that my user specifically have spawned. So another thing that I use quite a bit is list open files. Now list open files is just a Linux command, but one thing that's really nice in htop is if you were to run this from the command line, you'd have to provide it with a process ID. Whereas if you're already in htop, if you just hit L, cool, we're looking at the list open files output for this thing. And because we have the filtering capabilities, we could do F4 and just look for regular files. So it makes things like that pretty quick. Q to go back. Let's give an example. So recently at work, I came across a process running on a box that was just called like worker keep alive or something. So I don't know what it did. It doesn't matter. But let's just say it ran for hours on end. So there's this process called worker keep alive. So worker keep alive is running on the machine as a process. So when I go into htop, I can do F4 to filter worker keep alive, and I see that it's running. But one confusing thing is I don't know where that file is. So let's say this is a server I'm troubleshooting something on. I don't actually know where worker keep alive is from this view. Now if you add the path to it, it also doesn't help me there. So if you do list open files on worker keep alive, it actually shows you the full directory path because that process has to know where this file is to run it, right? So this is something the system knows you could find through other methods, but htop makes pretty easy and quick to get to. So another thing is environment variables. So if I want to see the environment in which that worker keep alive was basically the process that spawned it's going to inherit its environment variables, right? So I can actually see all of the environment variables that are associated with this, which could actually be really helpful if you're wondering, if you're trying to understand the context that something was run in, or maybe that process actually makes use of the last directory you were in, or something like that. That information, you can actually find the environment of a process at the time it was created. Well, I guess at any time because you can refresh it. So let's see. Another trick is if you can use sudo when you're doing it, because let's see, I spawned some other IDKs. Yeah. So as you can see, when I was preparing for this video, I made one called idk.shell instead of worker keep alive, and I ran that one both from my user and the root user. Now, if you're a root, you can see this, and you can obviously list open files on it. If you're not root, and you go back and look at IDK, it looks like there's only one running on the system because you don't have the privileges to see that other one. So it's just something to keep in mind. I'm trying to think of anything else that I use on a daily basis. Tree view's great. Killing processes. So another thing you can do from the command line is obviously kill something. With htop, you can do it from htop. So F9 is kill. So I want to kill this process, F9. Now here's all the signals I can send it. You could sig term. Sometimes sig term doesn't work depending on how that process was coded. You also have sig kill, which is basically, this is definitely going to kill this process. So you run that, process dies.